Morning. That's me doing my morning journaling. So my last little video blog, I was a little bit upset or disillusioned with my trip to the doctor. When I go to a doctor, it's because I'm really at a point where, despite all of my knowledge and the tools that I have, I need support and another opinion, and there's something wrong that I'm not able to fix. Like I said, it's also hard to share when life isn't going well, because as someone who works with people, we place a pressure on ourselves that we should have it perfect. You know, this feeling that we should always be on top of our game, optimal health, a walking example of where we're trying to take patients. However, the reality is that most of us are in this healing gig because we know what you're going through, and the lessons of our lives are teaching us the areas that we want to have the most impact. It gives us a sense of purpose. And for me, it's been health challenges, notably with fatigue, and also the journey of being a highly sensitive, and how hard and challenging that is when you have to deal with the medical system, because bodies are just different, and it's not always a sickness, but sometimes we need to be there to rule out a lot of other things and for support when it just becomes way too much and way too overwhelming. So yeah, I was pretty frustrated and disillusioned, being told when was my last holiday and that probably nothing will show up. And despite the fact I've been having a lot of cardiac symptoms, nothing was checked. Now, the gastroenterologist, I definitely have, I don't know where this has all come from. I like I said, I have a lot of thoughts about what's actually going on for humanity and how sensitive bodies are processing a lot of this. Gastroenterologist certainly feels there's something going on, as would I, because I've had so many symptoms: weight loss, intolerance to foods, histamine reactions. You know, it's all stuff that I deal with in my work. It's just horrendous when you're going through it yourself, and very, very scary. Anyway, stuff did show up. So it seems that I have a low thyroid, and I will credit the doctor. He was well on top of something called subclinical hypothyroidism, which is where your T4s are low, but your TSHs are still not too bad. Now, medical tests don't look at antibodies and free T3. So it's hard. They don't have that full picture, but he was on top of the fact that, yes, this isn't right. And he said, "How are you?" And literally, I just got up from a nap because I couldn't function yesterday morning. So, it would explain a lot of my symptoms. I'm constantly cold. My circulation is off, heart symptoms, energy, brain fog. The brain fog is the worst. And the fatigue. It's like, I was expecting actually just to be anemic and have low B12, but it seems it runs deeper than that. So, I guess, why am I sharing? I don't like to share that I have a thyroid problem, but there's been a sequence of events that has triggered this off, and therefore that puts me in a position to do something about it. So I have been given a prescription for thyroid replacement. Altroxin is T4. That's not the active form of thyroid. T3 is. So my body still needs to convert T4 into T3, where it will then work on the thyroid receptors all around the body, which are like, thyroid is the regulator of everything. That's why everything is gone off for me right now, and it's hard to function. So I still need to do that conversion, and that conversion requires a lot of nutritional support. It requires good iron, it requires vitamin A, it requires selenium, iodine is involved in it as well. So what am I going to do? And this is where I want you thinking, if this was you. I'm sorry, Instagram means I can only do 1 minute, hence lots of videos. So the story probably is, I took an antibiotic which created havoc. It caused stomach ulcers for me, which then led to all of the gastro problems, which led to me, and the cardiac problems, which led to me, due to histamine, not being able to eat very much, which then caused weight loss. that weight loss probably then impacted my thyroid. Having a lack of calories for such a long time, through no fault of my own, will affect my thyroid hormone production. The doctor disagreed with this. He's not correct. You will see low thyroid during illness. So that there's probably been a chain of events that has caused my thyroid problem. And it's not been that the thyroid has caused all of the other problems. There's a loop. So what will I do? Well, I have actually been tracking my thyroid and my DHEA levels for some time. So I will go back and retest them. And the reason I've been tracking all of these things is because perimenopause is looming and I want to have a rather pleasant transition and not a shit show of a perimenopause to menopause. So I will do through Nordic VMS laboratories a complete thyroid check, which will look at all of my thyroid markers, including iodine and selenium and heavy metals, which would be strongly linked with thyroid function. The company that runs that test is ZRT. I'll also do a complete Dutch test, which will look at all of my female hormones, because estrogen and my hormones will be related to my thyroid function, and it will also run an adrenal check. So the Dutch will look at my parent hormones, my estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It will look at all of their metabolites, and it will run a really comprehensive check on my adrenal function, my cortisol, my DHEA, and their metabolites, which will tell me a little bit more about liver function also. It will look at my cortisol awakening response, which will tell me about my recent and chronic stress levels, of which have been significant due to physical illness, never mind the mental and emotional challenges that went with that. And it will look at some antioxidant and free radical markers. So this will arm me with a huge wealth of information to see whether the thyroid is being impacted by the adrenals or my female sex steroids. Also, it'll give me a marker on my DHEAS, which is also crucial. So much as I would really like to start on the L-troxin, I'm going to get these baseline tests done first so that they can link in with the doctor's blood tests and will inform me of, well, where's the problem really? It's not my thyroid, it's something impacting my thyroid, and how can I remedy and rectify that? I feel confident that I will solve this problem, but it's also a kick in the arse that I really have to work even harder on certain things. Now, my hands have been tied because I haven't been able to tolerate supplements or herbs or very much at all, apart from the 2 or 3 stomach healers that I've been taking, which have been working, which will probably remove a need for a proton pump inhibitor when I finally get my gastroscope, which was the goal. I don't want to take a proton pump inhibitor. And I'll give you a few more reasons on that. We have stomach issues. It can be due to diet, it can be due to stress, it can be due to nervous system dysregulation, it can be due to overtraining, it can be due to infections. We go to the doctor, they do a gastroscope, they will confirm that there's inflammation and damage, and then they'll recommend a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor, an acid blocker. Acid blockers don't heal your stomach. They block stomach acid so that your stomach gets a rest, so that it can somehow magically heal itself, which, by the way, will require nutrition to do so, and stress management and exercise management and learning tools to manage the nervous system. So the strategy that we have medically to heal an ulcer doesn't heal the ulcer, it's just removing stomach acid, which will worsen the stomach ulcer. Nutritionally and in functional medicine and in herbal medicine, we have a lot of tools that actually help heal the mucosal layer. We have tools, nutrients, herbs that will help stimulate healing at the gut epithelial and mucosal layer. We also have antimicrobial herbs if they're needed, and herbal medicine really is where the strengths are. So doing this is highly recommended, and also being mindful of taking proton pump inhibitors, whereas they do remove symptoms and the acid stress load on the damaged and inflamed stomach lining, They can increase the risk of infections, of nutrient deficiencies like B12, calcium and magnesium and iron. And they also can increase the risk of small intestinal bacteria overgrowth or hypergastremia. Yeah, that's it, where we start to have rebound high gastrin levels. So if the PPI is taken for a prolonged amount of time, maybe over 9 to 12 weeks, what can happen is when we come off that PPI, it can lead to a rebound in gastrin, which can cause a rebound in high stomach acid, which can compound the problem again, leaving you in a vicious cycle of needing to take a PPI, which will then worsen your chances of small intestinal bacteria overload or B12 deficiency or anemia or magnesium and calcium deficiency, which is linked with osteopenia and osteoporosis should those PPIs be taken long term. So drugs are amazing. Like, that's my original training. I'm a pharmacist. Drugs are amazing. However, they're sledgehammers. There's a cause and effect. So we want to really think about, what are we doing here? If we're going to take the PPI, do it for a short amount of time. So limit the duration of a PPI if it's necessary, and do other things to heal, like mastic gum or slippery elm or the various herbs and anti-inflammatory supports that can be implemented. I'm not going to give specific recommendations for taking things because every patient is different. Some patients have a problem with their stomachs because they just unfortunately caught Helicobacter pylori. Others because their diets are shocking. And others because they have a history of trauma or chronic stress, or they're involved in a lot of exercise, which can be very challenging to the gut. So the solution is different depending on what the cause is, and practitioners ask the right questions to figure these things out. So there is kind of a bit of insight. Also, unfortunately, it's a bit of a hands up over, it's been shit for the last few months. I feel shit. I'm dragging my arse around. I can't do all the things I love. I don't have the brain power. My focus and concentration is shocking. My nutrient levels are low. I'm not in a great place, but hey, gives me compassion and empathy and yet more tools. And there's one little herb, flower essence really jumping out at me called bugleweed, which I'm going to explore because I feel that would really help me heal. If we can stimulate the energy forces of the body to instigate healing, profound, significant, speedy healing can happen. We're not told about that in pharmacy or medical college, but the body has a healing capacity that's far beyond what we ever might want to dream about in terms of drugs and supplements. So I will leave you on that note. Love you.